These little crushed glass Christmas trees pack a big profit at your art show if you use reclaimed wood and reclaimed glass. Watch the video and see how fun these are to make. They are they are just so cute. So the wood I'm going to be using is a little bit thicker than what I normally use. This one is still 5 1/4, but it's about 6 inches tall, and the thickness is a lot thicker. So this is almost 2 inches thick. It can stand upright. It's a shelf sitter. This is basically what I'm making. This is reclaimed barnwood, and it's actually heart pine. I believe I got this from a friend of mine when I lived in South Carolina, and he would go and dismantle barns and he would reclaim the wood. And we actually made a coffee table out of this wood, or the coffee table frame out of this wood. And so we made the frame out of this wood, and then we made the top out of a farm door, and I resined it. And I've taken it apart because it doesn't really fit our decor anymore. We actually built it for our daughter when she went to college and had her first apartment. So this was one piece, and then this was another piece. And we had several other pieces that formed the legs, but I cut it apart. This was actually one long plank. It was about 10 inches tall, maybe. So we've cut it apart. I'm going to use this to make my little Christmas trees. I think it'll be perfect. Now it's got a hole in it, so I'm going to have to figure out something to plug that with. And then I have 2 more pieces of, wow, this one's really thick. This is not part of the barnwood, but it's still 2 inches, very wide, 6 inches wide. So I'm going to take these 2 out and use these. And because this is heart pine, it's really, really heavy. So heart pine is the very center of a pine tree, and it's full of sap, and you can still smell it. It's absolutely wonderful. And this piece of wood right here is about 100 years old. So there's a lot of history, a lot of roughness, and I absolutely love it. So I need to fill that hole with something, or my resin's going to come right through. So I've got a piece of glass that I'm going to, think, UV resin it on there. Just kind of seal it in. That'll seal that hole, and then that way the resin's not going to run through the hole. I'm just going to use any UV resin light. This is my Let's Resin, my tried and true. And I've got a little bit of this Bond Crafter, and I'm just going to seal it around the edges. All right, while that's curing, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with my glass. So I've already crushed my glass, and I'll put a link to the video on how I did that. But I've already sifted out the much larger pieces from the bigger bucket using a strainer. And I've got primarily smaller pieces in here, but I want to sift out this really fine dust. And I'm going to take a small strainer. I got this at the Dollar Tree, the Betty Crocker. I'm going to put a bowl underneath like that. And then, oh, there's some really big pieces in here, but I want to sift out all this dust. Now, I'm not going to discard the dust, but I'm going to use it in other projects. But what's left is what I can use on these trees. And I don't know where this pony bead came from. There's some blue glass in here. I think I'm just going to leave it. I kind of like it. So I'm going to do this for each one of the trees, okay? So I need to make a trunk. I need trunks, and I need stars. All right. These might be the right size. I mean, for a small tree like this, we need a small star. Like that. These I got on Amazon. These are real stars, starfish. And somebody fussed at me for putting them the wrong side up. This is actually the bottom side, but it's very interesting. It's got a lot of interest and texture on it. This is the top side. So either one. This is the side that the starfish uses to crawl along the ocean, but you know what? This is my art. I can do what I want. So I'm just going to pick through some of the larger ones. And every once in a while, you can find a starfish with a missing leg. How cool is that? This almost looks like the Star of Bethlehem. So I might use that in something else. That's really cool. There's this one. This one's broken. Use that one. And then one more for this one. Okay. Okay. So now we have stars, and I need trunks. What can I use for trunks? And then I'm using some shells from the beach. These are just various shells. This is called a turkey wing. Find a lot of these because this is a broken one and it's been tumbled, but looks like a turkey wing. So put that one there. These are olives. They're called olive shells. I'll find those on the beach. This is a broken one, but I kind of like it. And then I'm not sure what this one is called, but this is just a piece of a shell that's been cut lengthwise, and then a little rock right there. Okay, so now that I have my stars and my trunks, I'm going to go ahead and lay down my glass. Use as little or as much as you want. That's not going to work. I'm going to go ahead and hot glue those on. I'm going to plug in my heat gun. I'm going to go ahead and hot glue those in. You know, I'm probably going to hot glue that too, but that's okay. All right, now that I've got everything glued down, now I'm going to just form my glass and put my glass where I want it. And I can continue, once I pour the resin on, I can go back and shape it a little bit more. The scoop that I'm using is just a yogurt tub, and really holds the perfect amount of the crushed glass for each little tree. And then I'm just using a little popsicle stick that I get at the Dollar Tree just to kind of shape the glass where I want it. It's just a little bit easier, it makes nice crisp edges. Once I get the resin poured on at the next step, I can take the stick and kind of reshape it just a little bit. It's almost easier to shape it when the resin is on than when it's dry. You'll see in just a minute. Okay, so that's the basic layout. Now I'm going to mix up my resin. I think I'm going to reserve 20 milliliters per tree. The bigger trees, I use about 40, so probably overestimating. So 120. Now I'm using the Let's Resin Fast Cure for these trees. Now the Let's Resin Fast Cure is not a coating resin. It is a casting resin made for molds. So when you put it on a flat surface like this, because I am going to spread it over the wood, not just on the glass, it will tend to fisheye. What that means is that it will separate, the resin will separate and cause like little indentations. But on these trees, and you'll see in a minute, it really is a really neat effect. You wouldn't want fish eyes on a canvas, but on wood, it almost makes it look very vintage and rustic. I like it. So the nice thing about these pieces of wood is that they're already sealed. These two have been painted and these have been varnished when we built the coffee table, so I don't have to seal them. All right, I'm just going to start with one and then work my way down the row. When I drizzle resin on a tree, I tend to do it the same way each time. I start at one end and I just work my way around and then work my way in the middle. And then that way you are sure not to miss any of the spots. You don't want dry spots with these crushed glass Christmas trees because you will have leakage of the glass. The glass will just fall off and you don't want that, trust me. All right, this one needs more glass. It just looks a little bit bare. So I'm gonna sprinkle some on there. So once the resin is on there, it's really, really easy. It's almost easier to manipulate when once the resin is on, because the glass is sticking together. It's not flopping around everywhere. What that is. So I just had to add a little bit of glass to this one. I'm trying to I want the branches to curve down a little bit like that, kind of like a inverted V, like that. That's pretty cool. This one looks fine. All of them look fine. Piece of paper there. So I'm just going to go back over one more time and get my edges really, really good. Because in the past, I've always had issues with the edges. Or let me rephrase that. If I'm going to have an issue, it's going to be with the edge, because if the glass is loose, it's going to slip out, and usually it's on that edge right there. But these look good. I'm just trying to use up all my resin. You see, this one, I think I want to shape it a little bit more. That's fine. There is so much resin on these that by the time it's cured, it's going to look like fused glass, and it's going to look fabulous. Like one solid piece of glass.
And all I'm doing here is using up the rest of the resin that's in my cup. Now, I have made a lot of drips. There's a lot of little drips all over the wood, but as I wipe the drips, I'm noticing that it's kind of spreading on the wood and making the wood shiny. I don't know if I'm making sense. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm taking the like the resin that has seeped out from under the glass, and I'm just using a paper towel to kind of wipe it away, but spread it over the surface of the wood. See how the wood's getting nice and shiny? It's almost like a really, really thin skim coat. And although the resin is not meant as a coating resin, I really ended up with very minimal fish eyes. It's a really neat look.
Now we're going to put on some ornaments. I'm going to use some gold and some red seed beads. I don't know what else I have. But these are just seed beads from Dollar Tree, I think. Because you need some ornaments. And you need something small on these small trees. You don't want anything real big. Because that just overwhelms it, you know? Oh, I broke the starfish. That's okay. Maybe one more gold. Very classic. And I take my gloves off because these are really hard to manage with gloves on. Plus, my gloves have resin on them. So it's just a little harder. There we go. Okay. And then the red seed beads. Boy, these are really clumping together. I think these might already have some resin. So they're clumping, but oh well. That's kind of cool. I don't know. These might be too big. These are just like costume jewelry pearls that I've found at probably yard sales, thrift stores. I think these are fine. These are costume jewelry. They're not the real thing, I promise you. But I'm just going to drop a few on. Okay. And now we're going to let these cure up and come back.
I did end up losing a few of the red seed beads, but I am not upset with that. My only regret with these little small trees was that I didn't make more because all six sold within a few hours at my art and craft show this past weekend. So this was a definite win-win. Small package, big punch.